I gave my boyfriend an ultimatum to marry me, and I'm starting to regret it. We're both around 30. We moved in together 6 months ago after finishing grad school and relocating to a new city for work. We've been together for years, and living together has been smooth. We're happy. We want the same things, and we get along great. The problem is, I've known for a long time that he's the one. He's the person I want to spend my life with. I want to settle down and start a family soon. I've had serious relationships before. One lasted 4 years, so I know what I want. But my boyfriend is mentally in a very different place. Here's why. First, he was a late bloomer romantically, and I'm his first real girlfriend. Second, he struggles to make decisions about anything, from jobs to which sneakers to buy. When we talk about the future, I'm very direct that I'm ready to settle down with him now. He says he loves me, that we're great together, but he needs more time to see where things go. He even jokes that he hasn't slept with enough women yet. Last year, we had serious talks about where to live after graduation. I said I wouldn't move to the same city with him unless we were engaged. He didn't propose, and I held my ground. Despite the long odds, it just so happened we both found jobs in the same city across the country, so we moved together and rented an apartment. Now I'm getting tired and worn down by all this. It's become my main source of stress and the biggest stumbling block in our relationship. So in September 2017, I told him that when our lease ends in April 2018, I'll move out if we're not engaged. He's never decided anything without a deadline, and I thought this would push him. But now I'm afraid he won't propose, especially because he said he doesn't plan to, and I regret the ultimatum. Maybe I ruined a good thing by trying to rush it, but it's been 4 years. I'm also afraid that if he does propose, it'll be under pressure and he'll always resent it. On the other hand, I basically gave him a similar ultimatum last year during the job search, and he made it clear he'd rather end up in a different city, which would have meant breaking up, than get engaged. I want to believe I'm being rational, but am I just dumb and desperate? If he doesn't propose by April, should I follow through and move out, essentially ending a great relationship because it's not moving at my pace? I'm happy to answer questions. This situation has gotten too stressful, and I'm grateful to anyone who takes the time to read and offer advice. Before we continue and get to the update, drop your advice for the OP. What would you do? Push him with an ultimatum or not? In this woman's situation, stick to your line or back off. Personally, I think ultimatums can be totally normal. Pressure isn't fun, but life's like that. Plenty will say, no, totally unacceptable. But put yourself in the shoes of a woman dating a guy for years. You need some clarity. If you want marriage and he doesn't, you don't want to waste time. What then? Be honest and set a boundary. What else can you do? The key is not to issue an ultimatum you won't enforce. And here we can see she's already wavering. Okay, let's see what happened next. Update 1. My boyfriend acknowledged I'd given him an ultimatum. I tried to use that as a springboard for a serious talk about how he sees our future. We sat down to discuss it a few times, but the talks went nowhere, and he told me to stop bringing it up, so I stopped. We lived happily for a while, though the ultimatum was in the back of my mind. Part of me hoped he was secretly planning a proposal. He wasn't. It's now 10 days until the March 31st deadline. I fully intend to stick to it, and he just said he wants me to visit his parents in September. After that trip, he'll talk to them about our relationship and think about proposing around December. Part of me is furious and insulted. First, I've already met his parents and spent time with them. I like them. They like me. They live in a more isolated state that's hard to get to. Flights are expensive, and driving would take 2 days. I've suggested visiting several times, and we had plenty of chances, but he always had reasons not to go. What really stings is we planned a vacation last week months in advance. He said he might visit his parents and maybe invite me, but stayed vague. I looked at flights when they were still reasonable and tried to organize everything. When I showed him options, he said, "Not now. Too busy," and put it off. Then less than 3 weeks before the trip, he announced I had to go with him or there'd be no proposal. By then, the tickets I'd been watching had jumped way up, which would be a big financial hit for me. Honestly, it was a crappy move. Last minute demand instead of planning ahead like I had suggested. I thought it over and decided not to go. Now he says he can't propose because I haven't been to his family's home, but I've met them multiple times. Our families know each other. He claims his family wouldn't approve without that visit. If he'd said so before the prices spiked, no problem. Since the ultimatum, we've had several vacations, and could have gone then. It feels like he set me up so he could blame me for why he couldn't propose. Not sure if it matters, but he's Asian American and I'm white. He was born in the U.S. I asked if this requirement was cultural. He said maybe. I don't want to disrespect their culture, so if anyone knows more about this, please share. Now that there are 10 days left and he sees I'm serious, he's begging me not to go through with it, but he still won't propose. He says it's illogical because he would have proposed in December, and he's willing to risk losing me rather than do it in April. I get his logic. If we both want to get married, what difference does the month make? But I can't live like this anymore. He's a grown man, and it's insulting that he's pitting this on me not visiting his parents' home. They constantly ask him about his plans with me. They don't know about the ultimatum, and I think they're as curious as I am about where this is going. I doubt they told him, "Bring her here first, then propose." Just my impression. Any advice or comments would be appreciated. Update 2. March 2018. I couldn't follow through on the ultimatum. I was ready to move out. I even found an apartment and wrote the deposit check. But at the last moment, I couldn't picture my life without him. I decided I loved him too much to leave over my own deadline. I also believed he meant it about proposing in December. It seemed silly to end a 4+ year relationship because I didn't want to wait a few more months. As a compromise, he agreed we could get a cat. I'd wanted one. He'd been against it, and that he'd attend at least one family event with me this year. On March 31st, the day I was supposed to move, we adopted a cat. September 2018. We enjoyed living together and almost didn't think about the ultimatum. We both needed to decompress. I started therapy and focused on myself, picked up running, made new friends, poured time into my career and our amazing cat. I think me focusing on my own life took some pressure off him. There were several family events in that period, but he always had excuses not to go. But maybe that's not crucial. By late summer we were good again, like the ultimatum never happened. He did keep complaining about the cat. September 2018. Trip to his family. As promised, I went to his parents' home in September. As I said, he's Chinese American and I'm white. I brushed up on some Chinese so I could at least understand a bit and say a few things when we were all together. The trip was great. I genuinely enjoyed my time with his parents and liked his hometown. I left a few days earlier than he did so he could have time alone with them and talk about our future. I asked a few times how it went. He said they were happy for us, but getting engaged in December was too soon. That sounded absurd to me. Again, it felt like he was projecting his views onto them. He also said I should learn Chinese before we married. His parents speak English perfectly but prefer Chinese among family, so I started lessons. December 2018. Sometime in November, I started worrying he'd change his mind again. The usual excuses crept back in. One day he casually said he couldn't propose in December because he needed to save money. We have joint finances, and neither of us has money problem. Another time he panicked about my student loans. In my field that's normal. I have a stable job, good salary, automatic payments. He demanded to see a spreadsheet of my finances before he could think about our future. Luckily I already had one. I showed it to him. He calmed down. Meanwhile my friends and family started asking about the wedding. Their intentions were kind, but it only stressed me out because I was more and more afraid there would be no wedding. With my therapist, I worked on releasing that stress and steering conversations away from weddings. I set ground rules for myself. No whining, no hints, no mention of engagement. I'd already learned that lesson the hard way. We spent Christmas together for the first time. I was sure he'd propose. He didn't. I said nothing and didn't sulk. For New Year's, he went to see his family, and I stayed to work. Nothing happened there either. January 2019. I accepted that he didn't keep his word, even though I'd kept mine. I was the perfect girlfriend he asked me to be, and I tried to treat it as an opportunity for growth, personally and in the relationship, but nothing changed. I kept my rule of not nagging and suppressed my thoughts about wanting to marry him. It got to the point where I associated my own desire for marriage with shame and self-disgust. Like those were bad thoughts I shouldn't have. I realized I was ashamed of wanting a future, and that's awful. But a few things in the last weeks made me realize this is all nonsense. First, one of my bosses offered me great long-term career prospects if I stayed with the company. My boyfriend wants to leave our city because he doesn't like it, though I'm fine here. He also flatly refuses to ever move to my home state. Reason: my family lives there, and they annoy him. I thought, Damn, this man is putting tons of limits on my life while refusing to make long-term commitments himself. Then this weekend I went home for my best friend's baby shower. I want kids too. That's the main reason marriage matters to me sooner rather than later. My biological clock is ticking. Yesterday I helped my friend and her husband set up the nursery and had a moment of clarity. It's normal to want marriage and kids. There's nothing shameful about it. Right now it's not just my dreams getting squeezed by my boyfriend. No marriage. No staying in a city where I've got career momentum. No moving to my home state where my family is. I even started shaming myself for any desire that conflicts with his. So I'm starting to make a plan to move forward because this guy is taking more from my life than he adds. I'd appreciate advice. What should I do next? And yes, to those who told me back in March to leave, you were right. I earned this lesson. Thanks for reading. Comments. Why isn't his not wanting marriage just as valid as her wanting it? She can break up if she wants, but trying to force him with an ultimatum is absurd. OP. From the beginning, he said he wanted to get married and have 2 or 3 kids. In the last year or two, he sometimes says he wants that with me, but more and more lately he'll say, I can't marry you, when I do something he doesn't like if I fart near him. Sometimes I call him out, and he says it's a joke. So yes, in his words we want the same things. He just has a mental block about taking steps to make it real. Plus the ever-shifting timelines and endless hoops he makes me jump through show he's postponing something. I've asked why he's dragging his feet. All I get are excuses about family, money, student loans, etc. Either those are the real reasons, or he's hiding something else. Sounds like the OP has more issues than just not listening. She's probably leaving out a bunch of her own faults. I'm not ready to call the boyfriend a jerk without both sides. OP, of course I have faults. Many commenters have pointed them out, and my boyfriend isn't a villain. No one is all good or all bad. The big thing I've realized is I've outgrown this relationship. People who fear commitment fear both marriage and breakup. They're afraid to make any big decision, so they freeze. No growth, just your partner feeling like they're not good enough, which isn't true. OP, oh my god, that's exactly my boyfriend. I'm going to talk to him tonight, and I know he'll be as upset by the idea of breaking up as he is by the idea of getting married. Final update. I talked to him last night. I started by asking what's blocking him and how he sees our relationship. He said his parents think things are moving too fast and named some issues he has. We don't make decisions together. For example, I want to stay in our city for my career even though he wants to move next year. Or I sometimes schedule a hangout with friends on a weekend he's free instead of planning the weekend together. He's bothered that I get many Amazon packages and he doesn't know what I'm buying. I showed him my order history, mostly household items we both use, plus the occasional hobby thing, maybe $20 per month. I pay it on my own card and clear it every month. I don't feel I need to consult him on every purchase. He hates that I'm chronically 5 minutes late everywhere. That's true and my fault. He also explicitly said none of this has to do with cultural differences or us being an interracial couple. And then he said he isn't ready for marriage. I was furious and told him I wish he'd said that a year ago so I could have moved on. Basically, he was trying to keep me on the hook for another year to buy himself time. I told him the relationship is over. He looked shocked. He's being very sweet now, probably hoping I'll change my mind, but I'm staying firm. And that's where the story ends. I think the heroine did absolutely the right thing. The only tweak, she should have left the moment she set the ultimatum. On the other hand, now she won't be haunted by, what if I'd waited a little longer? Okay, on to the next story. Story 2. I slept with my ex-wife. Hi everyone. My ex is 47. I'm 45. We've been divorced 3 years. We have 2 sons, Wyatt and Jack. We split mostly because of the kids and clashing parenting styles. My ex is a genius, PhD, research scientist. I'm an analyst. She grew up with cold parents who drilled discipline and routine for success. I grew up in a warm family where I could find my own way. Those two approaches collided once our boys started school. My ex wanted them laser focused on academics. I thought they needed to be kids, have fun, and learn to figure things out. After months of fighting, we decided we couldn't make it work together. The split was amicable. She even paid more child support than required, insisted on it. We still spend Christmases and birthdays together for the kids. The boys mainly live with me by their choice. She sees them about once a week, but they're teens now, and sometimes they just want a weekend to themselves. Wyatt once said it's partly her fault. They felt she was too strict. I remind them she's still their mother and did what she thought was right, and at minimum, they owe her respect. Here's what happened a few days ago. The kids are on break, so my ex has been trying to come by more during the week. She stopped over, but both boys were out with friends. Since she'd made the trip, I invited her in for a drink. We chatted and eventually started looking at old photos of the kids. We laughed until we got to one where the boys were 6 and 2. I've got both on my shoulders, and we're all three laughing. She suddenly burst into tears and started apologizing for everything. I was confused but hugged her and told her she did what she thought was right and didn't need to apologize for wanting to be an involved mother. We sat like that for a while, neither of us wanting to let go. Then she looked at me like she did when we first dated. We started kissing and things escalated. It was like all 12 years of marriage washed over us again. During it, she kept crying and saying she loved me. She left quickly before the kids came home, and we didn't speak until today. This morning, she texted asking to meet privately to talk. What do I do now? On the one hand, we still clearly have feelings. On the other, this could be a huge shock not just for our kids, but for the rest of the family. Before the update, what would you do? I'd look at my life right now. If I don't have someone I'm ready to marry, I'd probably give it a shot with the ex. Why not? They share so much, including the kids. If neither of them is seeing someone, why not date for a while and see where it goes? If it works, reconcile. If not, at least you have clarity. Okay. Update time. Update. Hey all, got an update. First, thank you. Your advice helped me prep for the talk with my ex. We met 2 days after her text. I went to her place, and we had a great conversation. About a year after the divorce, she started therapy. Working through her childhood, she realized she was repeating with our kids what her parents did to her. That's exactly what made her resent them, and why she was often closer to my mom than to her own. She cried and said she never stopped loving me, that, paper or not, I'd always be her husband. She admitted that the day this happened she knew the boys wouldn't be home and wanted time alone with me. When we looked at the old photos, it overwhelmed her. She said she misses me, that she's willing to do anything to fix things, and at minimum wants to be my partner again. I told her I've always cared about her, that I miss her too, and that I still feel something. By the end of the evening, we both admitted we still love each other and decided to try again, slowly, going to couples therapy regularly, and not telling the kids yet. Since then we've spent almost every day together, and already had our first session. It went well, considering everything. We laid a foundation for our new, old relationship. We'll keep going, but it's a good start. A couple of days ago, I organized a family dinner. The boys don't know about us. I just said it'd be good for all of us to eat together. Honestly, my wife has really changed, more open with the kids, asking about their sports, friends, hobbies. The boys responded great, and for the first time in a long while they were eager to talk and laugh with their mom. She even planned a zoo trip for the 4 of us, like when they were little. I think the older one suspects something but didn't show it. The fact that we've always co-parented well is great cover. Right now things are good. Deep down, I don't think we ever truly stopped loving each other. I think we would have found our way back eventually regardless of what happened that day. Thanks again for all the kind words and support. And that's the story. I'm really glad they found their way back. The sad part is the long separation. Sure, there are silver linings. You learn how much you mean to each other, but it could easily have gone the other way. One of them could have started a new family, and then one or both would be unhappy. In my view, she should have gone to therapy during the marriage and worked through that baggage. Maybe there wouldn't have been a divorce. Sadly, many of us think, why see a therapist? I already know what they'll say. Huge mistake. Thank goodness we at least have AIs now where you can type your issue and get quick advice. But after some time talking about deeper stuff with AI, you realize you still need a human being. At least that's how it was for me. AI is great for quick tips, but it can't replace long, steady therapy. What about you? Have you tried online advice versus a live therapist? Notice a difference? I'd love to hear. Thanks for listening to the end. Check out our previous videos right here. Subscribe if you somehow haven't yet. And good luck.